Good morning, everybody. Stephen Palmieri coming to you here live. Let's go ahead and grab a cup of coffee, hang out, and we are going to talk about the IRS and the tax code this morning. And so I was actually sitting here making my cup of coffee this morning, and I was thinking, we actually have a real opportunity to make some positive change in the tax code and with the IRS with the upcoming and incoming Trump administration. And so let's kind of talk about all the issues, right? I mean, we can sit here and talk about how the IRS sucks, which they do. And we could talk about how the tax code sucks, but it sucks because our Congress sucks. Our tax code has over, like, I posted something yesterday, like 1,000,000 words or something like that, 10 million words. I think it's 10 million words. It's crazy long. Okay. The tax code is not written for normal people, and it's not written because they want you to pay taxes. It's written over 100 years of Congress trying to legislate and create policy and drive votes and drive policy by the tax code. Okay. So, but let's talk about actually how we can help you guys out there with what we have coming in with the new administration. Okay, so Trump has talked about how prior to 1913, the U.S. funded itself off of tariffs. And that's pretty wild when you think about it. In 1913, what happened? Well, we had the IRS that was created in 1913. It was created as the debt collecting arm of the United States. And we had the Federal Reserve that was created as well, which is the money printing arm of the United States. So both of these things happened in 1913. So if we just go back and look at history, the debt collection IRS was created in 1913. The money printing machine Federal Reserve was created in 1913. And we no longer were funding this country entirely or primarily off of tariffs. In other words, to put it a different way, we were no longer not having burdensome income taxes that are really, I mean, we're just kind of dumbed down to the idea 100 plus years later that we're going to just work in slavery and pay income taxes. And it's so amazing that your employer is forced by law to take the money out and withhold it and give it to the IRS, right? So, there's people on both sides that say, yeah, it could be done. And there's people that say, oh, well, but the consumer is going to pay the price. Well, newsflash, we're already paying the price for the runaway government over the last 110 years since these things were put in place. I mean, we're $30-something trillion in debt. We have BRICS out there, which is these countries getting together trying to create a new reserve currency, a consortium of countries creating a new currency. If we go down to Latin America, China is all over there. We're not getting political here. We're just saying, you know what, this is the reality that we live in. Okay, so we could either stay in a little bubble or we can go out there and say, you know what, the reality is that whatever we've done for the last 110 years, it got us to where we are today, which is not very good for anybody except our foreign adversaries, including China. Cheers. So, good morning, everybody. By the way, I was all fired up. I was making my coffee, and then this was on my mind. Okay, so wouldn't it be nice if you guys could collect a paycheck? I say you guys. If we all could collect a paycheck and not be chained down with income tax, wouldn't that be nice? And I went down to Party City with my lovely wife and my two beautiful kids a week before Halloween to get a little Halloween costume. And when I walked into Party City, I thought to myself, this is the reason why tariffs would be perfectly fine. Because if Party City, no disrespect to them, okay, it's like South Park, names may sound similar, but there's no relation to reality. That's my disclaimer. When I walked into Party City, I said to myself, this entire store is full of stuff created and imported from communist China. If this store didn't exist due to tariffs, I would be okay. And this country would be okay. And I think that's really the way that we need to look at it. First of all, we have to have a little confidence in the leaders that are trying to propose retooling the system, which clearly doesn't work. And the whole idea of the tariffs is to say, well, you're going to just make your stuff back here in this country. And let's talk about that. That kind of segues me to kind of the other part of the title of this show, which is what are we going to do with the IRS and the tax code? Okay. Efficiencies is kind of how we're segueing here, because if the tariffs are really designed as a mechanism to compel people to bring their manufacturing back to the United States, well, then the argument is, oh, well, but you're not going to be able to do it for slave labor wages like they do over there. So it's still going to be passed on to the consumer. Well, maybe. But I mean, who even really knows? But again, you've got to take that into consideration with all the other components of the economy coming together. But let's talk about efficiencies, okay? Let's talk about the IRS, okay? I call the IRS and will literally be on hold for over an hour. 2 weeks ago, I called the IRS, was on hold for 2 hours and 1 minute, and then their system hung up on me. It said, try again later, goodbye. I guess their phone queue is only set up to last for 2 minutes or 2 hours. Then it hangs up on you so they can replenish their queue. Okay, so we've got Elon Musk, which is basically, taking on a leadership position in the incoming administration. And there is no doubt that Elon Musk is brilliant. I mean, the guy is a genius. He creates rockets, he digs tunnels, he creates electric cars. What else does he do? Neuralink. He puts implants in people's brains. I think there's some politicians that could use some brain implants, but that's not really necessarily where we're going to go here. But here's the point. Okay, I promise you a point with where I'm going with all of this. Okay, including the party sitting. And us being able to survive without a store full of Chinese plastic junk. Efficiencies, okay? If the tariffs are designed to bring the stuff back to the United States and people are like, oh, the manufacturing cost is going to go up. Well, maybe so, but you have to think that there's a certain level of efficiency that we can bring to the marketplace, okay? So with the IRS is entirely and utterly miserably inefficient. And their system that they work on is old ass, like their computer system. It's like 50, 60 years old. It's this mainframe flickering thing on the keyboard. That's literally what they work off of, okay? I mean, it's garbage, okay? For us to get, as folks who represent taxpayers, okay, there's an authorization form that we can get to send over to the IRS, to put on file with the IRS so that we can contact the IRS and talk to them about you, the taxpayer, who may be my client, okay? You would think here in the year of 2024 that there would be some automatic way to get this done with the IRS. You would think that, but you would be wrong, okay? What has to happen is we have to get this form signed. And you can't even necessarily get it docu-signed. And I say necessarily because it depends upon the IRS rep that looks at it. Some of them are like, this thing can't be docu-signed. And some of them are like, oh, it can be. That's how crazy the IRS is, and which is really systemic of our government in general, and why there needs to be a big giant ass flushing of this thing. Okay. But here's the point. So forget about trying to docu-sign it. So we have to send this thing over to our client. They have to wet sign it, scan it, send it back to us, this form, 8821 or 2848, depending upon which one we want to get. So we do have a way we can like go to the IRS, log in, and upload this form to them, okay? That is the extent of the technology that the IRS provides us to get an authorization on file. Now, keep in mind, we are already like given the blessing of the IRS to do this, because you have to have a special number, it's called a CAF number, in the system with the IRS to be able to get on one of these forms. Okay, so it's not like I'm just it's not like those people trying to do this as representatives of taxpayers are just some slug off the street that crawled up to the IRS and are like, hey, I want to talk about this taxpayer. Nope. We're already in their system as authorized, having this authorization number to be in their system so that when they get client authorization forms from us, they can push their button and know, oh, this is Stephen Palmieri, and he's trying to give us authorization. So the highest level of technology we can get with the IRS is to go log in and then basically upload this copy of this wet sign document, because the IRS literally, they're too stupid to even know if their policies will accept the DocuSign. Literally, you call up, one person will reject it, the next person will accept the DocuSign. It's crazy. I've had him tell me, we can't accept this DocuSign. And the next one's like, oh, this particular form is within our policy. We can. So here's the point, okay? The point is, if we are able to go in on the government level with Elon Musk's brain and talent and ability to get shit done and burn down the IRS infrastructure and rebuild it, I don't think we necessarily have to get rid of the IRS, okay? But I think things need to change for sure. I mean, the level of inefficiency is staggering. There is zero reason why a tax professional like myself or anybody else who has authorization numbers blessed by the IRS to be in their system, why I should have to wait 2 hours and 1 minute on a phone and then only to have the IRS system at 2 hours and 1 minute pick up automatically and tell me that it's hanging up on me. I've been on hold for too long. There's no reason for that, man. And if you think about the amount of waste that this thing causes, as far as the IRS having to pay people to answer the phones and then work on these ridiculous mainframe computer systems, okay, the amount of inefficiency is staggering at the IRS. And I'm sure it's not just the IRS. I'm sure it's a lot of different government agencies as well. So if we can burn down, proverbially, okay, metaphorically, the existing system of the IRS and rebuild with Elon Musk's brain a brand new technology infrastructure that actually works for the 21st century, I feel like that in conjunction with stripping down the tax code, okay, but that's a whole other conversation, okay? I mean, we've got like the fact that the tax code is just an absolute cluster and it's ridiculous and it's retarded and it makes no sense for anybody, okay? Yeah, that's one thing. But then there's the issue of just dealing with the IRS and the government itself, okay? So if we can rebuild the government computer system at the IRS with Musk's brain to where it's a modernized system and tax professionals and taxpayers can log in. I mean, there is like a login, you can get a transcript and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, you guys know what I'm saying. Like if you can log in and have a nice interface and a nice system that actually works and get shit done, like that would be amazing. Okay. And then that is the kind of thing, that is the pathway, in my opinion, number one, to reducing the $6.5 trillion annual government spending, okay, which is what Elon Musk has promised to do, okay? But the point there is there's a lot of room for efficiency improvements with the IRS, okay, which would save money and make the whole user experience a lot better. So to the other half of this conversation, wouldn't it be nice if you could go to work and earn some wages and not have income tax if the new administration is able to basically fund this government off of primarily tariffs? To the argument of, oh, well, but then the consumers are going to pay the price for it. Well, again, it's all about a maybe. But you have to sit here and think there's got to be ways to bring this manufacturing back to this country and have levels of efficiency, is my point, okay? Yeah, I mean, you're not going to come and bring a plant, a manufacturing facility that's in communist China. Let's say you've got 10,000 people over there making your thing. And you're not going to replace that with a factory here in the United States with 1,000 people making a thing in the United States because, yes, the cost of your thing is going to go up. But look at Elon Musk. Again, I mean, I keep on using him. The guy is brilliant. The future of Tesla is not the electric vehicles. He specifically has said it's the autonomous like robots and stuff. And if you look at what Tesla is doing, I mean, they're making these robots and stuff, which is kind of scary and crazy. But I mean, my point is, if you have a facility manufacturing things in communist China with 10,000 people over there, and then you start to tariff that thing, and you're like, okay, but you know what? How do you avoid it? You get a 0% tariff, just build it over here. How do you make it over here where you don't need 10,000 people, right? That is really where the scale of efficiency would come in. So if you can make it over here with 5,000 people, well, that's 5,000 jobs that you did not have. Right? So that's a win, but you're not needing 5,000 additional that you would have over there, right? I think that's the piece of the equation that is just oftentimes overlooked, right? And then, I mean, there's other things that are outside the scope of this particular Stephen Rant session to go along with, potentially like driving up energy production, bringing down the cost of energy, all these other kind of things working in tandem to kind of level off costs, right? You know what I mean? But that's kind of what was on my mind here was, wouldn't it be nice if all of us could collect a paycheck and not get taxed out of the yin yang? That would be super amazing. Like, I've yet to meet anybody who actually like says, Stephen, no, like, I don't think that would be amazing. No, and a lot of times people let politics get in the way, and I get it. It's an emotional thing, but set politics aside. Plus, the fact of the matter is Trump did win the election, and so he has said, thrown out there, would it be nice if we can start to fund the economy off of tariffs? So let's think about what that would do, right? Wouldn't it be nice if you could bring home more of your paycheck, and if the people in charge can actually figure out how to fund the economy off of tariffs? And think of it, okay, so now if there's no tariff because the manufacturing has moved here, well, that's still good, because now what you've got, to use our prior example, you've got a warehouse, a plant, a manufacturing facility now that did not previously exist, that's employing 5,000 people. Theoretically, there may not be income tax, but those 5,000 people are now earning employment wages at this factory that didn't previously exist. They're going to go out and spend their money in the economy. They're going to have sales tax. They're going to have property tax. Maybe they can buy a house. You know what I mean? Like, it all kind of flows cyclical there through the economy. Okay. Let's see. We've got Art over here. It says, why don't the dumbasses, let's see if I can use this thing and kind of share this. Let's see here. Share. So Art, why don't the dumbasses answer their telephones if they call the office? They hang up on you. Well, that's the IRS for you, Art. The IRS is, and then look, I've talked to some really nice folks over there. There's some crotchety old people that work at the IRS, but I mean, look, it's like anything. It's just a big, giant bureaucracy. Okay. So, so there we go. I just wanted to drop this thought at you. Wouldn't it be nice if the incoming administration is able to execute on the vision of funding the government off of tariffs, or at least, in a way where it reduces the burden off of your income tax? Wouldn't it be nice? That would be nice. That would definitely really be nice. And wouldn't it be nice if we can get some efficiencies put together here with the IRS, where even you as a taxpayer yourself, forget about me as a professional calling on behalf, but you didn't have to wait 2 hours and deal with all the brain damage. If somebody like Elon Musk could go in there and completely rebuild the infrastructure that these agencies are working off of, they would not need to hire as many people to work at the IRS if they had a technology system that enabled us to log in just like you can log into any other main portal, right? Like, you can log into your bank, which has got to be the most secure thing in the world because they've got your money. You can log into your bank and there's this nice user interface and there's all these menus and side menus and sub menus and all these things. Wouldn't it be nice if you could log into the IRS and have that kind of an experience? And imagine how much more efficient that would make them. So that being said, drop in your comments. Let's keep the dialogue going. Guys, have a great Monday, great rest of your day. I appreciate you guys for joining me, and I will see all of you on my next live. You guys take care.